Steve Andreas, gracias por acompañarnos y bienvenido a la Argentina.
Mucho gusto.
Gracias. ¿Qué es programación neurolingüística?
NLP is what psychology promised to do a long time ago, to understand how the mind works and how we experience things. And one of the key things is that we take any experience. If I remember an experience from the past, I'll usually have some kind of picture, and I usually have some kind of sounds or words, and also some feelings about it. And to understand that you can take an experience and separate the picture from the words from the sounds and the feelings.
¿Los recuerdos son solo emociones o fotografías que uno guarda en la conciencia?
Conscience, I think she means just the awareness that this is how we understand things. And for instance, if someone has had a bad experience in the past and they have a very bad feeling about it, they can separate the pictures and the words from the feelings and then learn to feel okay about it. Let me give another example, and particularly in human relations. If someone feels inferior to someone else, usually in their internal pictures, they will see the other person much higher. And if you ask them simply to take that picture and move it lower, then they feel more equal.
Igual. Uno dice que, por ejemplo, la PNL puede mejorar las relaciones humanas. Una relación laboral, una relación estudiantil, una relación afectiva, una relación amistosa. Pero ¿de qué manera? Si su alquimia es diferente a la mía, si su química es diferente a la mía, ¿cómo podemos complementarnos y mejorar nuestra relación?
Well, one of the key things is to realize that we're all different. And one of the fundamental difficulties that people often have is to assume that people are all the same, that you have the same ideas that I have about the world and everything. So there's one particular thing that's very, very useful. It's an old idea, but NLP can make it very real and experiential. And that is that as we're speaking here, I can take another perceptual position and I can imagine that I'm standing over there watching the two of us over here like this. And what I get there is information about what I do and how you respond to that, and then what you do and how I respond to that, and can see from the outside. So that's a very useful piece. Now, going from there, it's one more step to go from that position to actually take on your body position and become you looking over at me. And then I see all the things that I'm doing. And particularly in an argument or a difficulty or a difficult negotiation, I can see myself the way you see me, and then I can get more insight into our relationship.
Se suele decir en este tipo de temas que uno debe conocer el mapa mental del otro. Alguien aquí mismo me decía, incluso en cuestiones del amor, si yo no tengo el mapa del otro, voy haciendo una cartografía, voy haciendo el recorrido a medida que nos conocemos. Y después que nos conozcamos, podemos armar la figura que va a ser ese mapa de nuestra relación. La programación neurolingüística me ayuda para armar el mapa.
Well, the map is an experiential map. It's composed of pictures, words, feelings, sounds, things like that. And when you go for that position and then actually become the other person, you can actually gain quite a bit of actual experience of how that person thinks, how that person feels, what's going on with them. And so it's not so much a map that you can draw on a piece of paper, but it's a map that you can feel in your whole body. People who are very, very good at this can take on someone else's position so well that they can actually say, oh, you have a pain back here. And so they actually feel in their body what the other person is experiencing.
Sí, bueno, en psicoanálisis uno puede jugar incluso en el psicodrama haciendo papeles alternativos, papeles diferentes para ver de qué manera actuamos frente a una misma situación. ¿Es importante que yo sea el otro o yo tengo que seguir siendo yo mismo?
The small children, when they're first growing up, they're just in themselves. They don't know how to get out and see from the outside. They don't know how to get into someone else. If a child hits your foot with a hammer and you go, ah, like that, the child goes, oh, yeah, interesting. Bam, do it again. They have no sense of what the other person is experiencing. Fairly early in childhood, children are able to actually take another position and see themselves and see how they are acting. It's quite late in childhood that children are able to really take another person's position. And I think it's something that none of us do very well. It's a real skill that is not very developed. And so like any other skill, with a lot of practice, you can get much better at it.
A partir de este ejemplo yo tendría que preguntarle si los adultos tenemos que volver a ser niños o los niños tienen que volver a ser adultos.
The key is to have flexibility and to be able to choose when you do each. So if I'm pursuing my own goals and what I want to do, then I want to be in self position. I want to be here. I want to be myself because I can feel my goals and what I want to do, and then I can do them. If I want to understand someone else's position, then it's useful to step into their shoes. There's an old saying, if you don't criticize someone until you walked a mile in their shoes, because their experience is very different than yours. There are other times when it's useful to jump out there and see the two people like this and notice the relation between them and how they go. So it's a matter of flexibility and using all skills. Some people are stuck in their own position and they have no idea what someone else experiences. Some people, engineers and architects, are often out there and they're like this. They're seeing all this stuff and go, oh, very interesting, but they don't have their own life. Other people are too much involved in another person and then they sacrifice their own life because they have only the other person's feelings and they leave their own feelings behind. So any one of these is a waste, but put them all together and it's wonderful.
Estoy pensando, si todos están juntos y cada uno quiere cruzarse con el otro, ¿cómo diferencio cuál de los dedos es el que tiene más fuerza para que estas manos puedan cruzarse? Siempre va a haber un dedo más débil y un dedo más fuerte. Siempre va a haber alguien más fuerte y otro más débil, pero ¿de qué manera se pueden ayudar y complementar? Porque no todos son débiles y no todos son fuertes.
Well, strength and weakness has to do with using most of our resources. And this is a way of gaining new resources because I have my own position, I can see from the outside, I can feel your experience. And with all three of those, it's not so much that they all come together, it's that I can move from one to another. I can understand, you tell me something and I have a sense of your experience and where that comes from in you. I come to myself and I know my own position. And I can see out there, oh, here's how these two people are coming together. And it's a matter of changing, not putting them together, but dancing between the different positions. And out of this comes a kind of wisdom that is fairly rare in human relationships, of a real compassion for other people, that if I'm having a difficulty with someone else, to really understand what their situation is. Even if I decide, no, I don't want to do what they want to do, but I can, rather than get angry at them, I can understand what they're feeling and what their map of the world is. That doesn't mean I have to do it.
Steve Andreas, a quien agradecemos su visita y por supuesto nuevamente le damos la bienvenida. Hay tipos representativos visuales. ¿Cuál se adaptará mejor a esta época permanente de cambio, a este finales de milenio? Y de qué manera, por supuesto, la PNL me puede ayudar, ¿no?
Well, many ways. And in many areas of personal change, it's a particular idea that's supposed to be good for everything, and we don't believe that. We think there are special things that are, this is good for this is good for this is good for that. Many things. Example, for someone who's had a very bad experience in the past, a phobia or a trauma,
shock.
When they remember it back as if they were reliving it again. So it's in their body, and they feel all the horrible feelings again. We teach them, see that experience over there as if it were on a TV set. So they see themselves in the accident. Rather than being in the accident, they see themselves over there. When they can do that, then they can no longer have the bad feelings, because it's over there. The bad feelings are over there. Now, the same process works in reverse with grief. If someone has lost someone important to them, what they're doing is imagining them over there. And so in the grief process, you teach them to take that image over there and step into it so they can be with the loved person again.
Pero hay una pregunta. Yo puedo sentir un duelo y verlo como si fuera un programa de televisión. Y puedo ver a un ser querido tomando la distancia. Pero ¿de qué manera yo puedo no sustituir? Porque hay un vacío. Yo necesito no reemplazar. Hay una ausencia.
Right.
La ausencia es lo que duele. A lo mejor hablo en primera persona, pero me parece que las ausencias son las que duelen. Entonces, ¿qué puedo hacer?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Can you think of someone who's important in your life, who's not here in this room?
Sí.
Okay.
Sí.
When you think of them, where do you represent them in your personal space? For instance, if I think of my wife, I think of her basically right here. She can't be here because of this, but still, I picture her here close to me, and I have the good warm feelings that I would have with her. Okay? Now, she might have been killed an hour ago. I don't know. But still, I can have the sense of the valuable relationship. So when the person is gone, you can still have the good feelings. But when someone is experiencing grief, there is this emptiness you spoke of. It's like a vacío.
Vacío, ausencia. Sí.
Yeah. And that's not necessary for the person to feel. They can fill that up with the good feelings that they had, just as I have this with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
People respond to their maps, and it's not reality. The person might be actually gone or dead, but you can experience them as if they are here and have the good feelings that you had with them.
Esos son buenos recuerdos. Son buenos recuerdos. Pero ¿qué pasa? Usted ya lo explicó. Lo que es un trauma, lo que es un shock. Yo puedo haber vivido un accidente y ese momento aparece. O un momento desagradable. A lo mejor un asalto, a lo mejor... Pero siempre son momentos malos. Los que uno recuerda y de golpe. Y no puede tomar distancia. Hay gente que duerme y se sobresalta recordando ese momento. ¿Cómo lo puedo superar? Para que sea simplemente algo muy lejano. Para tomar yo distancia de eso.
Well, it's hard to believe, but if you take those memories and you represent them out there at a distance, and you can make the distance as long as you want. You can make the pictures as small as you want. You can make them gray instead of bright and colorful. And when you see them out there, it doesn't matter so much. And I've done these kinds of things with Vietnam vets who had horrible experiences. And so there's no limit to it, because by separating and seeing it out there, you separate yourself from that, and you get the distance from shocks and so on. Now, that's the problem in grief. See, it's a solution for a phobia or a shock, but it's the problem in grief. And again, we have all these things we can do with our mind, and part of it is learning, do this with this, do this with that.
Usted hablaba recién que trabajó con excombatientes de Vietnam. Hace muy pocos días, tratando de armar una historia de la Segunda Guerra y sobre el Holocausto, entrevisté a un sobreviviente precisamente del Holocausto. Él era muy pequeño cuando ocurrió, pero vivió la tragedia del campo, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. Y yo le pregunté, ¿usted quién es? Y él me dijo, soy un sobreviviente. Y yo dije, no es lo mismo vivir que sobrevivir. Y digo, ¿por qué usted es un sobreviviente? Porque no puedo despegarme. Eso que decía usted, que esas imágenes que aparecen fuertes en colores aparezcan como blanca y negra muy lejanas. Que es muy difícil a veces despegar de cosas que han abierto heridas y no han podido cicatrizar, ¿no?
Could you repeat the last question? I understood the first
No,
part.
la pregunta sería si hay heridas que nunca cierran, aunque yo ponga en blanco y negro,
Okay. Well, there's several things. Number one, I've had several wounds. They don't hurt anymore. They've healed. I've had, physical, yeah. Cicatriz, no más. Okay. When a person has a shock experience, there's two parts of it. One part is the shock, the fear, the susto. Okay? The other part is what is the meaning of the experience. So if someone is wounded, it could be the meaning that they were stupid, or it could be the meaning that they were careless, or something like that. That's a slightly different part of it, and that needs to be dealt with in another way. You spoke of someone who's a survivor. That is a meaning for that experience. Not just that they went through the experience, but I'm a survivor. And that can be a very powerful thing in carrying someone through an experience, no matter how difficult it is.
Claro. La pregunta sería ahora, esto fue shock. De pronto yo quiero mejorar una relación humana. Empecé a trabajar y quiero tener buena relación con mis compañeros de oficina. O conozco a una señora y quiero tener una buena relación con ella. O quiero tener una buena relación con mis hijos. ¿Qué debo hacer a través de la programación neurolingüística? ¿De qué manera me ayuda?
Well, there's so many ways I don't know where to start. Could you be a little more specific about...
yo no conozco un grupo humano, me es totalmente nuevo. Más allá de presentarme, más allá de compartir un momento, ¿cómo se produce esa alquimia de relaciones humanas a partir del PNL?
Well, let's say that I'm in a difficulty with another person, maybe my wife or my children. There are so many things you can do. I literally don't know where to start. I mean, the thing that I mentioned already about taking different positions, so that if I'm having difficulty with my child and he's angry with me, if I can become him and feel his anger and his thing, then I can be more gentle with him. I understand what he's experiencing. The great tragedy in human life mostly is because I have only my own perception, and this is in my way. It's a bother. My child is yelling and screaming in the store, and I don't like this, so I'll stop it. Okay? So I'm only experiencing myself. If I experience him and his frustration, his tiredness. Once one of my sons was very, very cranky, and I was really angry with him. And a few hours later, he came down with a fever. So then suddenly I understood this was not him being mad at me or being difficult. It was just that he was having a fever, and he didn't realize it yet. There's so many things like that. And throughout the world, you see all kinds of conflicts because people don't understand each other. And they have no idea what the other person is experiencing.
Uno se puede quedar pensando que uno a veces no tiene idea de lo que le pasa al otro, porque a veces no sabe ni siquiera lo que le pasa a uno. ¿Cómo yo puedo comprender al otro, ser o estar más cerca del otro si a veces estoy muy lejos de mí mismo?
This is a problem, yeah. Because people don't know themselves. And often they don't know themselves because they are paying, the opposite of this is they're paying so much attention to someone else that they lose track of themselves. And that's the other end of the problem. It's this balance, to find the balance between my needs, someone else's needs. If I'm only paying attention to someone else's needs, then I lose myself. If I only pay attention to my own needs, then I lose the other person. And to get some kind of balance is the answer.
Lo mejor para usted, Steve.
Thanks very much.